Hello everybody, my name is Marlo and welcome back once again to some more Minecraft survival here in my single player world, where last episode we made 5 new additions to our custom village here, and they are all directly below me here. We made the inn, as well as this mining site, as well as this pub here, or tavern, whatever we're calling this, and then we also made the fisherman's house, and then just over here we have the post office slash delivery building. I don't really think this has an official name, but those are the 5 that we built. However, there are 2 additional buildings that you may not recognize unless you come to my live streams. In the past 2 live streams that I've done, we made this building and then this smaller one over here. Let's go check them out. Starting off with this little guy over here. Pretty much this is a storage building for all of the travelers staying inside of our inn over here. And it consists of, well, the storage building here, as well as a small set of stables just beside it here, where we have 3 horses and then a mule around the back over here. So those are all stuck in their little pens. They don't have a lot of room to move around in, but their owners will be back shortly after a quick night's stay in the inn. They won't, but that's what we're going to pretend. But let's just go in and check out the inside real quickly, and as you can see, it's pretty basic here. We just got some chests and some barrels here, as well as a ladder that we can climb to access all of the individual shelves. It's super simple and super small in here, but I actually really quite like it. And over here is my favorite new addition to the village, and that is the moneylender's office. And basically this is a little bit like a bank, except the bank is replaced by a very rich villager who basically lends out all of his money if other villagers are in need of it, in return for a little bit of interest. And yeah, that's how he makes his money. He's probably not very ethical about it. He's probably evil inside and maybe old and grumpy too. A little bit like Scrooge, except he actually gives his money. But yeah, maybe he doesn't have the greatest of morals, is what I'm kind of imagining here. So his build is actually quite prestigious, I would say. It definitely looks quite grandiose in comparison to some of the others, especially compared to that side of the island. And there's one little detail I've done with this, which I think is pretty cool and I want to tell you guys about. It's these blocks up here. Any guesses on what they are? Some of you may know, but if you don't, then it is actually a loom, or at least the bottom half of a loom. There's nothing on show here which looks directly like the loom block, which is why I think I can get away with using it in the build here, and I've never done that before. I just thought it was kind of cool and wanted to tell you guys about it as a quick little build tip. So yeah, this is his build, and we've also got this little thing out the front, which I quite like, but let's head inside because that's where the fun really happens. And when I say fun, I mean daunting meetings with the moneylender. Basically, if you need some money, you would come in here and book an appointment with the receptionist, who currently doesn't exist, but they will. You can also ring the bell if they happen to be upstairs. But once you got your appointment, you're going to go up the stairs here and just sit around in the waiting room until you're ready to be called in. And that is where you have your meeting with the moneylender. You go through the door here, and this is your chair, and you have to sit in front of this big menacing desk where he sits behind it and yeah, tells you have to pay me back or I'm gonna do bad things. So yeah, maybe he isn't all that bad. Maybe he's really kind about it and lends out his money just with no bad repercussions whatsoever, but I don't think so. I think he's a bit of an evil guy. So yeah, this is his room in here. He's got his big desk. He's got his little pen here to write in all of his accounts. And he's also got a little bookshelf and a set of drawers and just some other cool things like that. I'm actually really quite happy with how this build turned out. It was very fun designing it. And I should say those 2 builds, as well as most of the ones that we're going to be doing today, are all from you guys. So a collective thank you to everybody who suggested your ideas in episode 46 of this series. I really do appreciate it. So the main thing that we are going to be working on today is this high street, which is currently just a bunch of colourful concrete, which we will later transform into a really cool little section of the village. But as I said, that's later on in the episode. For right now, we are just going to work on the other remaining buildings that we have left to do in the village, aside from the high street, of course. So over here we have 3 more shapes remaining, but there's only going to be 2 more builds that are made over here, and it's mainly because the one that I want to go next to the water is actually too large to fit anything else next to it. So these 2 shapes are going to be sort of combined into one, and we're just going to have one build over here, and then the other can go next to our meeting hall here. So I think before we start work on the high street, super quickly, let's jump into a time lapse and get those builds all done. And there we have our 2 newest additions to the village, and I am actually really quite happy with how they turn out, except from one little thing right there. Unfortunately, this was a bit of a squeeze to fit this build in, and they've ended up touching on the corner, and I really don't like that, so we're just going to go ahead and get rid of that stair. It doesn't really look too bad at all. I'd rather have that than them connecting over here. But yeah, it was a bit of a tight fit, but we got it in the end. And this is actually meant to be the doctor's surgery, although I don't know whether we would necessarily call them a doctor. I don't think they were as knowledgeable as the modern ones are today, but if you had some sort of medical issue, this is the place you would go to. And we walk in the double doors here, which is pretty cool little thing. I don't do this very often. But yeah, we have our waiting room here with the bell to ring. And then the doctor can send you round to his office here, and he's just got his little desk, some storage for all his utensils and that sort of thing, and then a little seat over here, or table I should say, that if you need to get checked out for something, not surgery, that's this room over here, but if you just need a quick checkup, then you can lie on here and the doctor can do his stuff. It doesn't have great privacy, as you can see. There's a poorly placed window here, so you can see directly through, but no one's actually going to be on here, and I didn't really want to cover it up because we've already got the fence gate out the front there. But yeah, that's the actual doctor's office. And then obviously if you need something a bit more serious, surgery for example, you can come into this room right here, and this is actually my favorite part. But before we show you, I think I'm actually going to need to go run outside and go to bed. Yes, I am. It's getting really dark. Let me go do that quickly. Where is the bedroom? We're going to have to go in the fisherman's house. There we go, the night has been slept away. It's nice and sunny outside now. Not that you can see the sky. There it is, nice and blue. So yeah, as I was saying, here is our surgery room. And obviously this is the table the patient would lie on. And we've got some other little details around here like the apron, the axe to do some chopping. It's very brutal in this room, I must say. And some other utensils around here. An arrow and a hoe, just pretending to be something else, and then lever and a flower pot doing the same thing. And this is on the tripwire hook, and this is as big as it is, by the way, because I actually have a data pack from Vanilla Tweaks installed. It's not magic, just a data pack. And then lastly, this is actually my favorite part of the build. We have a big manual drill, I guess is what you could call it. Basically, these are meant to be rollers, and you can kind of push this along to center yourself up on whichever part of the patient you need to do some drilling into. It's a bit brutal. I'm apologizing to all of you who don't like this sort of stuff, but yeah, it's a bit gruesome in here. But yeah, if an incision needs to be made, we got this thing here to move across it and kind of do that manually. Kind of disgusting, but at the same time, I actually really quite like it. This was a fun build to put together. And the other build over here is actually a flour mill, hence why we have the water mill out the front of the build here. And maybe this isn't your typical Minecraft water mill. It maybe should be a bit bigger and wider, but on the small space we're working with here, I think this works. I don't know whether it would actually function, but if it span around, I'm sure there's some way it could keep momentum and actually produce some sort of kinetic energy, or however water mills work. But yeah, this is the build. Generally pretty happy with it. It's got a bit of a weird roof, but I kind of dig it at the same time. But yeah, let's head inside because that's where the main part of the build actually is, because we got some fun stuff going on in here. So I guess we'll start off with the actual mill part of it. This obviously is connected to the water mill outside, and just use your imagination here, because obviously if the water mill was to spin, then this would kind of just, you know, spin upside down that way, which wouldn't actually work and turn this flour around. By the way, this is a place to make bread. As you can see, we got some on display over here. But maybe this is some sort of mechanism and it turns the rotation around to kind of spin around this way instead of the way that the log would be turning around, if any of this is making sense. So yeah, the fence post would turn and then spin our armor stand here. I've used this simply because you can actually submerge an armor stand into the composter even when it's full up like that, and looks a little bit better than some other options that I had. So yeah, we got the armor stand there, mixing it up. It doesn't look particularly appetizing, maybe doesn't have a great color to actually be dough or whatever else would be in here, but it is what it is. And yeah, that's how the actual bread or dough is made, I should say, before it goes in the ovens over here. And we've just kind of got some storage around, so some sugar or salt possibly, and I didn't really have an item frame or an item to put inside an item frame for yeast or any other products that goes into making bread. So yeah, we just got the sugar one over there. Of course, we're going to need some water to stick in there as well, if needs be. And any guesses on what these things are? If you said a tub full of flour, then you win, because that is exactly what it is. Again, gotta use your imagination a little bit. Yes, it is just white carpets, and maybe the flour would be a little bit of a darker color. Maybe this is a bit too white and vibrant, but it's the closest we got in Minecraft. So both of these tubs are kind of overflowing, and this one over here is very much so empty and needs replacing soon. Just some fun little details that I think really bring this build together. So now we have those two builds all done, we are ready to start work on the high street, and here it is. Sort of. Not exactly. Some of you may be very confused what you're looking at right now, and the squid is not helping with that confusion. Oh, they're always doing that. So basically what you're looking at, if you don't already know, is a mod called Litematica, which is basically all controlled with this stick right here. And I can move this around all I want, left and right, forward and backward, up and down, but I'm not going to do that too much because I've got it perfectly positioned how I want it. But pretty much this mod just allows you to make a schematic of a world, and then you can kind of print in a hologram like I've done here. And it's just really helpful for copying over builds that you've done in creative to a survivor world. So pretty much, you know, none of this is actually here. I can walk through all of these blocks. It just tells me where I need to place them all down. And I don't use this very often. I think the last time I actually did was when I made my villager trading ship over by my starter house, as that was quite a difficult build and hard to follow with screenshots, which is usually what I do. And this is another build. It's quite intricate like that one, and it's pretty easy to mess up if I'm just looking at screenshots. So yeah, we're bringing in the Litematica mod to actually copy this on over. Of course, I still have to go get all of the resources and everything, so I'm just going to go gather some spruce wood and stuff like that, some white terracotta, our doors and windows. Obviously, it's very much so lacking the detail at the moment. We're going to add that in afterwards, but I kind of just want to get the base buildings all done. So yeah, I'm going to go gather all of these blocks up and then replace them and make this high street actually physically here as opposed to just a hologram. Squids, I'm sorry to say, but it appears one of your friends flew a bit too close to the land there. Somehow they've died. I'm not quite sure how they've done that, but I'm willing to bet it's something to do with those bubble columns, or maybe they just beached themselves. I'm not entirely sure. But anyway, this is the 7 main buildings, or at least the shapes of them, of our high street all done. And honestly, guys, I don't know whether using Litematica actually made my life easier or more difficult then. I think overall it probably saved me some time, but my goodness was it tedious to place all of these blocks down correctly, because you can't really see what you're placing when the hologram is up and in your way. So a lot of it was guesswork, and it kind of changes color when you place a block down wrong, and then you can't really see what you're breaking. It's a whole thing. Didn't take too long though, and as I said, in the long run, I think it did save me some time rather than copying over from screenshots. So yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of our buildings all done up, and yeah, as I said earlier, they are missing some major detail. Right now they are literally just 4 walls and a roof. Did I say wolves then? I meant to say walls. 4 walls and a roof, as well as some windows and doorways. There's a whole bunch of other stuff we can add to these to make them look a little bit better. Yep, this is certainly looking a whole lot better. As you can see, not only have we added in all of the other details for the build, but I've also added texture to our white terracotta and our stone brick building over here. Now, it's probably too big of a build entirely to show you every single little detail in depth, but we'll do a quick run / swim around here just so you can see all sides of all of these builds, and maybe you can get some ideas of your own. And yeah, I kind of just went around and picked out all of the usual detail blocks that I would add in: trapdoors, fences, barrels, note blocks. That's what this is right here. And just kind of put them all in a shulker box, and I thought I'd actually show you how I sort of went about doing this. So as you can see, I got all of my items here in 2 shulker boxes. Most of them have been used by now, of course, but basically I just look around in my storage room and kind of gather everything up that I think I might be using. And then I sort of take some screenshots of these in my test world just so I can see exactly where everything needs to go. And if we just take this one here, for example, you can see all of the detail blocks in here are note blocks. We're going to need some barrels, a lantern, a flower pot, and an oak stair. So then I would open up my shulker box after looking at that screenshot, and I would then check out 1, 2, 3 note blocks, 1, 2, 3 barrels, have a look around. It was a bit more organized before I started this. It's all become a bit of a jumbled mess, but I would throw all of those items on the floor, pick them all up, and then go place them down and sort of rinse and repeat for all of my screenshots. So yeah, that's how I've been doing it. It kind of keeps things organized and keeping my inventory nice and clean for the most part. But yeah, gonna go ahead and take all of these items back, dump them off into the chests, and then I'm gonna refill them with everything that needs to go on the inside here, because all of these buildings are very much so empty at the moment. Things over here are looking a little bit different, and it's not just because I have the shaders on. I've actually put a street in our high street. It seemed weird having that part of the high street unfinished, so yeah, I've gone ahead and brought over our pathway that started in the marketplace over here on throughout the rest of all of these buildings. And you may notice a bit of a transition between textures here. Turns out when I did this marketplace, which was one of the very first things we did in this village, I must not have kept with the pathway design, because you can see there's some stone brick and some polished andesite and some other blocks that we haven't been using for the one that's just everywhere else in the village, which is mainly just cobble, andesite and gravel and some coarse dirt and that sort of thing. So I could change out the blocks, but honestly I'm a little bit too lazy to do that, so I'm just gonna say for how much this gets used, maybe it's having to be, you know, paved over multiple times with different blocks. So yeah, we're just gonna go with that instead of spending a little bit of time changing out the blocks. But shall we take a look inside some of these buildings? And we'll start off, I guess, here and work our way around. So this one is the butcher shop. Now, all of these kind of consist of the same thing. They're all going to have this little table for the cashier or whoever this would be selling the products to stand behind. So yeah, that's kind of a theme in all of them. But as you can see, we just got some barrels with some item frames of some different meats. It's pretty basic, but they are very small buildings, so they don't need to be super complicated. Next up, we have the tailor, somewhere you would go if you would like some clothes. Now, I've made a bit of a bold choice with this one, so prepare yourself. As you can see here, we have some warped stripped logs, or stem I should call it actually, that's the actual name. I just kind of felt like using this. I think we can get away with using it in the tailor's shop, considering we got all these bright clothes around. So yeah, just something a little bit different, and I think it goes quite well with these birch blocks as well as the brick in a way. I don't know if that's just me, but I kind of like the color palette of this build. I think it actually turned out quite nice. So yeah, that is the tailor, and then we can move on down here to our cobbler, which is basically somebody who sells, makes, and repairs shoes. So yeah, as you can see, we got some invisible item frames with just some different boots and iron and leather and that sort of thing, and some gold over here just on display or maybe waiting to be fixed. So yeah, if you need your shoes repaired, you can come over to the tailor and he'll sit on his little stool and repair them for you. And the reason why these are in item frames instead of on invisible armor stands is because the boots, when they're on invisible armor stands, look like this, which is not great. I've left it over here just so we have something a bit different, but yeah, you can see through the boots entirely, and they don't really look anything like boots, do they? Whereas these kind of do. The shop at the end of the high street here is a fabric shop, and just prepare your eyes because it's pretty bright. I've gone a bit overboard with the fabrics possibly. There are a lot of colors in here, and I think maybe the actual profession title of the person selling in here would be a mercer, although I think that has something to do with clothes as well instead of just silk and fabric, so maybe not. But yeah, we've got all these different banners on display, and he's got a ladder to climb up if he needs to get to the higher ones, and once again, he's got his little table to stand behind to actually sell the stuff. Before we continue the tour, once again, I have to go find a bed. There we go. Good morning, Fisher's Nest. How is everybody doing today? There's no answer because there's no villagers in here. At least none close by. They're all kind of compacted over in that spot. Next episode, we're going to be moving over some more villagers, hopefully, and getting this place a bit more populated. But yeah, anyway, moving on. This is our leatherworkers shop. So as you can see here, we just got a bunch of leather products. The brown banners are just meant to be straight up leather. This one here is being dried underneath or in front of the fireplace. And yeah, I got some leather caps, leather horse armor, actual leather, and some leather boots, and yeah, just that sort of thing. Super simple stuff, but I do think it works. And then we can move on to our candlestick maker, and something I will actually say is I love this little section here, this tiny little alleyway through these two shops. That was actually intentional. Kind of wanted to have like a small little secret walkway almost. So eventually next episode we will bring the pathway out and connect it back up to the other side here. But yeah, I just thought that was a kind of a cool little thing. Makes me feel very immersed walking through that. So yeah, here is our candlestick maker, where he's got some candles, not sea pickles, another candle, not a torch, a third candle over here, not a redstone torch, and definitely a fourth candle over here, not a soul torch, as that says on my hotbar. So yeah, there's the candlestick maker, and then the final build over here is actually our potter. That's what it is, selling pots and other sort of clay products. So yeah, we got this big mound of terracotta and then basically just a bunch of empty pots. I was going to put some stuff in them, but then I thought, well, he's probably not going to be selling the things in the pots. He's a potter. He'd just be selling the pots. How many times did I say pots in that sentence? A lot, probably. But yeah, he stands back here and sells all this stuff. And something you may be wondering is, what's going on with the floor? Well, this is actually a brown mushroom block. I can't really show you that well, I don't think. Maybe if you can see, yeah, that is the texture of the brown mushroom block. And can I get that back, please? Basically, you get this by placing another brown mushroom block on top of it. And when you break it, you get this texture. Never really used it before, and I think it just makes for a fun little floor design. And I think it suits our potter quite well. So today I plan to finish all of the buildings in the village, and I've actually done that, but there were a couple of smaller builds, not really buildings, that I've gone invisible. I'm back, don't worry. That I wanted to do today. So super quickly, I've actually done them. Let me just show you what they are. So over here, just behind the marketplace, we have the small information stand, kind of where you would go if you need some info on the village. So the person in this stall is selling some information booklets. He's selling a map of the village that you can see over here, looking pretty sweet if I do say so myself. We'll get an updated version of this next episode when everything is done. Of course, this side is looking very empty at the moment and lacking some serious pathways, which is really gonna tie this whole place together, I think. But yeah, he's selling that and a gold nugget, which is either maybe some sort of currency. Probably should have put an emerald in here actually, although they'd be paying with the emeralds. Maybe it's a souvenir. We'll say that instead. And then over this way is a very fun little build. We have a little guy over here who is selling the Fisher's Report, our village's newspaper, as you can see here. And yeah, he's just here sort of in the busiest part of town selling this, and when you pay him you can open up the fence gate and grab your own newspaper. And yes, I needed to do a little bit of cheating to get that villager head, but I've done that multiple times before in this series for your guys' head that is in this world, in like Christmas Village for example, as well as maybe on a couple of other occasions. It's not that big of a deal. I think maybe when season 2 comes and we either reset or do some chunk pruning, still undecided at the moment, but I'm gonna do something with the villager heads and maybe with the wandering trader and have the ability to get my hands on some of them, because they are actually like super helpful. Not just for stuff like that, but when you can get the micro blocks, they're really fun little builds. So the final one that I want to add in is just behind our storage building here. And it's actually a outhouse, I think that's what it's called. Basically, if you need the toilet, this is where you go. So if you're staying in the inn, here are the toilets. It's pretty gruesome and gross inside. Could maybe use some lighting around here, which is something else I'll have to add in next episode. But yeah, for the most part, with a couple of exceptions, maybe there's a few open spots here or there. This is quite an open one. Might need some sort of build, but we do still have to add in, you know, all of the trees and that sort of thing. So we should be able to fill all of the remaining space up quite nicely. So that, everybody, is where we're going to have to say goodbye for today's episode. Next time will be the final episode here in this village. We will be finishing things up, ready for the world tour in episode 50. I'm super excited for it. We'll do some nice cinematic shots and get a real nice little montage sort of thing going. So yeah, look forward to that one. I am very excited for it. I hope you guys are too, and I will see you in that episode. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, and bye for now. That is an extreme close-up, maybe a little bit too close.